Flosstube. My name is Becca, and I'm SamBrie Stitches here on Flosstube and Instagram. And this is another special edition of Interview with a Flosstuber. I am very excited to be here with these four lovely ladies. We are actually ringing in my second year of the interview series, so I'm pretty excited to have them. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, I didn't really tell you guys that, but yep. Second year kickoff. So I'm here with Kristen, Jodi, Erin, and Erica, and they are the Steel City Stitchers. I really enjoy their channel. I've kind of been like a silent viewer. I haven't really commented too much, but I love how their friendship shines through. If any of you have watched their videos, you can clearly see that. They have such an amazing friendship, and I think that's what draws me to the channel, but they also have very different, unique styles to their stitching. Which is also kind of fun, and they're so enabling. Since there's four of you with all different tastes, you're very enabling, and also very talented, which we're going to get into the different avenues of the talent that they have throughout the interview. So super excited to get started. How are you ladies doing this evening?
Oh, we're doing so good. This is so exciting for us. I feel like we're somebody now that people actually want to interview us and put us out there. So this is really cool.
Well, this is just a fun little series that everybody has just really started to love. So I'm excited to keep it going, and I'm glad you guys said yes and that you took time out of your evening to do this. So very exciting.
Thank you for doing this with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah. So we are going to hop into the questions, and the first one is, why did you start a Flosstube, and were there any particular motivations?
So I'll take this one first because the idea to start Steel City Stitchers was mine. I had started watching Flosstube, Pam and Steph in particular. I was watching Jessie Marie does stuff. I started watching Priscilla and Chelsea. And, you know, Flosstube in 2019, it was there, but there clearly weren't as many people as there are now. And it wasn't quite as prolific as it is. And, you know, watching that, I just thought, you know, I have some friends that stitch that come into Jodi and I's shop, and it would be really fun to just try it. Like, why not? Let's just throw one out there and see what happens. So early 2019, we still owned Kidsville at the time. Jodi and I owned a business together. It was a kids play space and coffee shop, and Erin and Erica were both members. So they brought their kids in on a weekly basis, and we just became really good friends. And we just decided, hey, let's try this Flosstube thing. We were all stitching and just thought it would be something fun. So we threw it out there, and almost 3 years later, here we are. So
I remember being like, I mean, if 100 people watch this, how cool would that be?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that feeling, because you get so excited, just, you know, oh my gosh, I have so many views or whatever. That's so neat.
And
so,
we were only, you know, at that point, we were only filming maybe once a month, just kind of whenever we felt like it. And then Jodi and I actually sold the store in early 2019, and then we just started going to Jodi's house. So we would meet once a week, and we would eat and film a Flosstube, and it was like a once a month get together type of thing. And really then COVID happened. Erin got sick. They were both pregnant. Like, there was just a lot of things going on. And then COVID happened. And then we had to start filming remotely. We started filming remotely and from home, but we realized that it was easier then for us to do it once a week or once every 2 weeks. And that kind of put us into this rotation of where we were filming more frequently. And it's worked in our favor, but it definitely evolved from being just like a casual get together type of thing to something that we're really passionate about.
I remember the first couple, we would bring like cheese platters and like Erin and Aria would make cupcakes, and it was like this thing, like we would get together and like eat, and then like an hour would go by and we'd be like, well, we should probably get some of this on camera. So then we'd like film, and then, you know, there was like kids to get back home to, and it was just a very like casual, we were just getting together. And so yes, it's become a lot more structured, but I feel like we still are just getting together when we film. Like, we're just hanging out and talking about our week and what we did and what we stitched on. And But yeah, the beginning ones were like a thing. Like,
Yeah.
I'll bring the cheese and pepperoni plate.
I'll make the coffee.
I think I brought tacos once. I went and got like that 20 party pack.
That's awesome.
That was a good night. Yeah.
It was fun. It was like an excuse, you know, when you have little ones, it was an excuse to leave the house once a week after a while. Like, it was so nice to be like, well, I gotta go to my stitching night. So
Shucks.
yeah.
Well, we as viewers are lucky that you guys are now doing it weekly, but you guys still somewhat get together because in your videos you're like, you know, somebody dropped off something to somebody else and you're
Yes.
like going all over the place.
That's a constant. That's like a weekly, maybe bi-weekly or twice a week. Yeah.
Drop off, drive by, drop off or something.
I've got the routine. I know the route very well at this point.
Yes. Or we get together for coffee. I mean, Jodi and I have been friends for years, you know, even prior to this. So I don't think that we've gone a week without seeing each other in the past 6 years. But, you know, having the girls come over for coffee and sometimes we just, you know, get together and stitch. So it's definitely more, the friendship is not all that you see on Flosstube, I guess I should say. You know, this friendship is much more than the camaraderie that you see for an hour every single week. We've definitely become a lot closer because of Flosstube, and the friendships have definitely strengthened, but it's just, it's as good off camera as it is on camera. So.
It's nice to feel like you have people, like we've been through a lot of bad crap together and good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we've definitely also been extra hands to help and to hold each other up through some tough stuff,
Yeah.
which is really nice to have.
You guys are very fortunate to have each other because I know there's not a lot of people who have the group, you know, that close friendship like you guys do, and the stitching that you have in common as well. Just the friendship in general is amazing.
Yeah.
And it comes through in the videos. That one that you guys did where you did your friends swapping your boxes kind of thing, that was amazing because you can tell how much you guys love each other and how you know each other by those gifts. So it was really neat that you guys like recorded that and put it on the channel. That was really
We set the bar really high for ourselves.
I know. Like, there's gonna be a doozy.
you gotta go up from there now.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get on to the next question. And this one's just a subscriber question. And they were just wondering if any of you guys had a blog of any sort.
It's a quick answer. Nope.
That tends to be the answer from everybody is no. Most people use Instagram as their.
I would definitely say that all of us are very active on our Instagram and then Facebook a little, but definitely if you want to follow us in a different format, then jump onto each of our individual Instagrams because we're always posting something.
Yeah. And so
I had a blog once, like a million years ago, and my dad, like a couple months ago, was like, "Hey, why don't you ever update that thing?" And I'm like, "Dad, the last time I wrote in that was like 10 years ago."
Was it a My Journal? Because I had a My Journal.
I don't even remember what it was. Like, I don't know, Dad. That was so funny that he's even thought of that. Like, no.
I would pay money to read my journal. Like, I wish there was a way that I could get back into it because it had to have been good.
Yes. Yep.
Yep,
I remember one of my entries was about a boyfriend in high school.
Oh, 100.
That convinced me to date another girl. And then it was funny because he and I became, we were not friends at that time, but then we became friends later in life, and I'm actually friends with him and his husband. So I was like, the relationship didn't really work out for a reason, but it was really satisfying too that it didn't work out with that other girl too. So, but I remember writing about that on my journal. Yeah, I was very jaded.
I poured my feelings into my journal.
Oh, so good.
All right, Erin, you can take this next one because I think, Erin, you've probably been stitching the longest, right?
I started stitching when I was probably 8 years old, maybe younger, but around then. My mom was cross stitching and she only ever did printed cross stitches. which are awful. Like as a cross stitcher now, I look back and I'm like, why was that all she would do? She refuses to learn how to like use an Ada. I don't know, but that's what I did for the longest time. And so I fell in and out of it throughout my life. And then it really started to stick again when I went to visit my mother-in-law, who wasn't my mother-in-law at the time, but she's a craft room that might as well be Joann's. Like she has everything in that place. I love going to their house because I'm like, I'll just be upstairs for 10 hours. So I found cross-stitching stuff in there and I'm like, I've never tried it. I'm bored. It's like, they live in Irwin, Tennessee, which is like the top of a mountain. There's nothing to do there. So I learned again, and then I just kept up with it at that point, and then met these girls. And I remember coming into Kidsville and seeing Kristen stitching, and I was like, oh, cross stitching is welcome here? Okay.
Come on in.
It was such a unique place too. And my daughter was at just the right age where she could go play and I could talk to adults for 2 hours. And so it was glorious that I would stitch, and then through this channel, it's just evolved. But that's how I started a long time ago.
The perfect situation too is when Jodi and I would both be there working. Erica would come in, which Erica was the one that got me back into stitching because she would come into Kidsville and she sat at the bar. We had like a coffee bar. And I remember the one day she just like pulled out this cross stitching and she just started cross stitching and it blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God, I love cross stitching. I haven't done this in years. And we started talking about the frosted pumpkin because of course that's Erica's jam. And I started looking it up online and I must have bought $50, $60 worth of patterns. And I went just like ham on the frosted pumpkin. And that was really what had started it all. But if it wasn't for Erica, I never would have picked it up. And then Jodi would have never picked it up. And Erin would have never known we did it. So
I was very reluctant too.
You were,
like,
yeah.
I remember that.
I would be like, come on, just try it. And I would look at Erica's like hoop and needle minder. And I'd be like, is that like a counting tool thingy? Like, I'm not into that. Like, I can't, like, no, I don't trust myself. And then I remember they were like on my ass about starting. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it, but I'm going to try it like on the side. So I bought a printed pattern of a sugar skull because this was my thought. I'm going to make Kristen something and show her that I can do this. I don't think I've ever told you this. No. So I bought a printed pattern of a sugar skull. You guys, it was this big.
I was going to say, where is it?
Of course it was.
This big. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And I started the nose, which was like all black. And it took me like 4 days to do like just the nose. And I was like, fuck this. Like, this is not for me. I'm not doing it. And then I was bummed because I'm like, well, I can't. I was going to make you so proud of me.
I would have been
and then I went into the shop the next day and you told me about frosted pumpkin. And I was like, oh, these are a lot smaller than like what I thought I was getting myself into. And then I bought a needle minder and I've got all the gear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then my first pattern was like a horror pattern that I followed on my phone and like did it. It spiraled from there. But the printed pattern, man, holy moly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they're rough, man. The thing is, they're not even on like an Ada usually. Like they're not even on like a linen or an Ada. It's just like a piece of fabric.
The ink is usually like off, and
it's so bizarre. It's just not like a great method. I hope that's not how people try to. It drives me crazy when someone sees me stitching and they go, "Oh, I could never do that." And I think like, can you count to 10? Because if you can, then you can do this. Like anybody can cross stitch. Yeah. But it seems so intimidating when you see it in that form first.
It's so funny that you said that because I had an appointment today and the lady that was taking care of me, we got to talking. Oh, she asked me what my plans were today. And I said, I filmed a YouTube video for cross stitch, like, and she's like, you cross stitch? And I was like, yeah. she goes, oh, I just don't have the patience for that. She's like, but do you make those stockings? And I was like, no, I don't make those stockings. Those are a lot of work. And she's like, oh, darn, because now I can't ask you to make the stocking. She knew the Busilla, like she knew that brand. And I was like, no, I do. One, I barely even know this one. But it was funny that she said she didn't have any patience. And then she jumps to like the stockings, which are like the...
Like, hey, you must have patience of a saint. Can you make this for me? Thanks.
Yeah. Like, no.
Like the most extensive piece.
Right? But just the not having patience, I was trying to explain to her. I said, it has nothing to do with patience. It calms me. And you make this beautiful work of art. And I was trying to explain that to her, but she could not get past the whole, she just didn't think she could do it thing. So, and it's not even, she didn't even try the stamped or anything. She didn't even try it. That's the thing. So.
Yeah. And if you try it, that's the thing. You try it once, you're hooked.
You're hooked. Yep, and down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I remember going with my husband when I was just getting back into it, and all I had to buy were like maybe 6 skeins or something like that. Like that's all we were buying. And at the register, he's like, I love this hobby. It's so cheap.
3 years later.
I just
bought it all the time.
I like subscription box, honey.
So cheap.
Not at all. So Erica, did you want to talk a little bit? I know they kind of mentioned that you had started out with Frosted Pumpkin, but how long have you kind of been stitching?
Well, I was trying to think of how I actually started stitching. I know that my mom would have taught me, and I think it was probably around age 10 or so, because I made it was a stamped piece. It's a teddy bear, like angel, and there's a satin stitch heart on it. And I gave it to my next door neighbors, and they in like 1997, and it is still hanging in their bathroom. Like I asked them like last year, I said, "Hey, do you still have this piece I made for you?" And they're like, yeah, it's still in the bathroom. I'm like, okay. So that was
I know. I wonder what the rest of their house looks like.
It made me so happy though to like think about it still being there as like proof of like this stuff. And I did like at that age, was like 10 or 12, right, doing that stuff. And then I definitely didn't really stitch in high school or college that much, but then picked it up after college because I wasn't sure, like, was I going to grad school? Was I just going to find a job? Was I going to live with my parents? And I found another stamped piece because I was sort of nervous about counting, like, oh my gosh, I'm totally going to mess it up. So I did the stamped piece. I got like a quarter, maybe not even a quarter of it done, and then put that away, and then picked it up again right before I was expecting my first child, and then stitched for like his bedroom, and then just kept stitching, and now it's just like, taking on a life of its own.
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My grandma taught me how to stitch because she is a beautiful stitcher, cross stitcher, and she can't anymore because of arthritis. And her sister is a beautiful cross stitcher as well. So I started, I'll never forget, I was 6 because my cousin Brooke was being born, and they were doing a stamped cross stitch quilt. So they were stitching the pieces, and then my great grandma was actually going to quilt quilt. And so that's how I started. But then it's funny because my mom has some of the cross stitch pieces that I did. I have one from 1999. It was Liberty Bell because we went to Philadelphia. So I bought the Liberty Bell. It wasn't stamped. It was actually like a kit. And then when I was in French class in high school, I had to do an end of the year project, and there was like a whole list of things that you could do. But one of them was create something, whether it be a painting or whatever, but it has to be something French. And I remember printing out a picture of the Eiffel Tower, and I stitched the Eiffel Tower, a rough sketch. I didn't have a pattern. I just kind of followed it. And then I put the French flag behind it. And I remember that's what I submitted for my French project.
Where is that?
My mom has it, I swear.
Oh, good.
The next time we do a Flosstube video.
We have to see it.
And I'm at my parents' house, I will show you this because my mom has them displayed on this quilt.
As they should be.
Yes. So, but I did get an A. But it was never and then I never stitched again, like in college. I stitched a little bit, like 2014, some health things were going on, and it was like a good way to pass the time, but it was always like a DMC, like it was always like a dimensions kit. Like I never found a pattern and then just stitched it. I always bought a kit. So I did a rooster for my mom, like some vegetables for my sister. I did like this like cats like scene for my mother-in-law. But I'm like, I would never stitch those now. I would never do a dimensions kit. I just don't. That's way too much for me to do. But that's all that we really had. Now, of course, there's patterns galore. So, but never consistent. I've never been as consistent with a hobby as I have been with cross stitch for as long. Yeah. I have too much money invested in it to give it up now.
Doesn't it make you mad looking back though? There are so many vacations and I'm like, God, I wish I cross stitched then. I would have had so much more fun.
All those plane rides that I could have been stitching maniacally on the plane.
Yeah, totally.
My stitching goes with me everywhere. Oil change, doctor's appointments, you name it, it's there always.
Totally.
Yep.
Kills the time. So we're gonna move on to the next question, and it's, what is your favorite project that you've stitched? This is a fun
Erica,
one.
this one's yours.
I should have gotten it out. I wasn't thinking about it, but that big national parks one that I just finished in March, the national parks like birthday celebration centennial that I started in 2016, and I finally finished it. I think that's one of my favorites, just because it was such a long time. Like, why? But it's done, so I love it. Mm-hmm.
Good one.
Does anybody else have any favorites or nope?
Such a hard question. Like there's so many favorites. I like anything I do by RETM. I like love it when it's done.
Couple couples.
Oh yeah, man. And then like even that thanks one, like it's not gifts at harvest time. Isn't that what it said?
The pumpkin.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking like, some of the sentimental pieces are really fun to stitch too. Like I've done a couple for weddings, and I made a piece for my girls. Where is that? Oh wait, it's over here. Hold on, let me just look. I did that heart and hand. That one.
The long one, yeah.
Oh yeah, the love you to the moon back. Yep.
Yeah, which is sweet. I have the box out. I was trying to think of that earlier. Like that's so hard. Like how do you narrow that down?
Yep.
I thought about it for a long time because there's so many like FFOs that I have that I love, but none of them are really meaningful in the sense of like the sentimental side. I think my favorite are the two that I did with the sound waves. So I charted them and then stitched them, and it was sound waves of my kids.
Mm-hmm.
So for sure, that has to be my top.
See, now that you say that, my handprint. I like my
handprint,
girls' handprint ones. I love that one.
Yep.
I didn't stitch these ones, but my dogs that Jodi gave to me, she had to stitch like a maniac because we lost Atticus kind of not suddenly, but she had that one stitched up really fast, and then unfortunately we lost Grover 2 weeks later, which wasn't expected at all. And but she stitched like a crazy person
through the night.
Those ones done. So they are always up there, so they're always with me. So those ones are probably my favorite.
Yeah, I think all the pieces that have that meaning attached or so much time and love. I love those. I love those. Those are my favorites too.
Yep.
So what do you enjoy most about stitching?
I'll take this one. I think for me, it's just what's brought us together in this community, and how many friendships that we've made. I mean, stitching is a hobby. It's not, but it's become so much more than that. I never in a billion, but gajillion years thought that cross stitching would turn into this, and how many amazing people that I've met along the way, and how generous this community is, and how much joy it brings to us, and going to StitchCon and small retreats, and it's absolutely amazing. I don't think there's another craft out there that has this type of I don't know, this type of following.
And the diversity too. Like,
Yeah.
we've met people that are 75 years old that we've been at a retreat with, drinking wine together, and we, you know, and then us, like in our 30s, like it's incredible the different, you know, the whole gamut of people that we've met. And I think I've said this on my last video, like some people that I consider very good friends of mine are through stitching that I've never even met in person. So
yep, for sure. Yeah, our community is amazing. I was actually talking about that in my video today on how amazing, supportive, and like whenever something comes up in the world, our community will band together and, you know, put out a pattern for raising money or surround themselves around, you know, the loss of someone in our community or the troubles that they're going through. It's such an amazing thing to be a part of. It really is. It's the best. So
absolutely.
So we're gonna get out of stitching a little bit, and we're going to kind of learn a little bit more about y'all. And this is, what's your favorite genre of book or movie?
It's Jodi's question. I can answer it.
Right?
Kristen and I was going to be the same.
You know, it's funny. I read horror books. I'm obviously a huge Stephen King fan, Stephen King sleeve. My library is a Stephen King just collection. Absolutely love horror books. I don't prefer watching horror movies. Comedies definitely are my go-to for any type of movie, and like old comedies. And I say old, but I'm thinking, you know, 80s, 90s comedies, like 80s Tom Hanks, all day long. Money Pit, The Burbs, Big, yes. So, but books, definitely horror for sure. Erin, what about you?
I mean, I got to keep it light. I'm a comedy romance person in any of that stuff. I like to be able to predict the end. Although I'll tell you what, I am a Marvel fan through and through. If there is a Marvel anything, I will watch it, and I will watch it 100 times. And I will dissect it. And then I will go to Reddit and I will try to look at the theories behind why things are like that. Like, I might not come off that way, but I am the biggest geek when it comes to that stuff, and I love it.
Yeah.
So cool. That is so cool.
Erica, what about you?
In terms of like movies and TV, like comedy, romance, that kind of stuff, but also like with books, and especially historical fiction and nonfiction are really my jam. Like memoirs and things like that. And you know, I'm a historian and an archivist, like by education. I don't work in that field now or anything, but so I always go back to that kind of stuff when I'm looking for something to read. And, you know, I like a lot of 20th century, both American and European history mostly. So,
Jodi?
It could be a murder documentary or a horror movie all day long. The more blood, the better.
Research, people. It's all research.
It's recon.
It's funny because when Jodi and I first met, and you know, my love for Stephen King and all of that horror stuff, I remember going to see, I think it was the first It movie.
Yeah.
And she was like,
I was like,
appalled.
no.
She's like, I'll never do that. I'm like, it's not that scary. She's like, nope, I'm never going to do that. And then she started dating Michael, and then all of that changed. So now it's like the whole family.
One of our first dates was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, I fell in love with it. And yeah, I love the theatrical side of it. Like how you can make something so terrifying that's so fake.
Yeah.
Like Art the Clown and Captain Spaulding and all of those characters, like they're amazing when you actually like watch the storyline of the movie and like take it all in. And it's like, how do you create that from just like
your imagination, basically? Yeah.
Like it's that, I love that part of it. And then, you know, obviously the bloody side of it is intriguing to me, but that for me more comes from like, like true crime documentaries. Like, give me a Dateline marathon. Don't talk to me. Give me some gummy bears and Dateline, and like I'm good for 24 hours. Like I'm golden.
Yeah.
And I'll stop and like look at the blood spatter and do my research, and like I've got a million pictures on my phone of blood spatter. I swear to God, if I ever get arrested, I am toast. Like toast.
It's all for research.
Research.
Mhm.
That's the best. That's the best. So now I'm curious. I kind of want to know Jodi's answer on this, but everybody's. What fictional place would you most like to go to?
Well, I don't know if I'd say fictional, but like, places from movies are so cool for me. Like Michael and I took a trip to Kingsland, Texas to see the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre house. Obviously it's a real place, but it's from the movie. Camp Crystal Lake, that's a real place. Like I'd love to go there. That would be so fun. And they do tours. Like I'm always looking for, places to go that I can go there and be like, oh my God, this is, this is this part of the movie. And like the Texas Chainsaw trip that we did, it was like a fully self-guided thing that like I just did the research on the city and like where to go and what to see. We went to the gas station, and just the being able to see something in its true form that you've seen in a movie is so fun for me. Mm-hmm. So that would be mine.
I totally get that. We did that when we first moved here. We were like huge Twilight fans. So my husband drove us over to Forks, and we did the whole, driving around and seeing everything. So I totally get that.
I want to do that so bad.
It's like, I'm coming. I'll see you next week.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I totally get that. So anywhere else anybody wants to go that's a fictional place?
I've been thinking about this question all week. I wish I had a better answer. So, what I was thinking was like Stars Hollow, but I kind of live in like a Stars Hollow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my town is very much like it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're so lucky. I love that. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I love it. Like that's the best part about Pittsburgh. I don't feel like I didn't know about Pittsburgh before I moved here, and I didn't know it had these kind of like communities where we live. It's a little, I'd call it suburban, but then you can walk like not even a quarter mile into town, and we have like shops, and we've got the town center, and they do the Harvest Festival. We have a Memorial Day parade that's just for our little town. And my husband's in the parade. So like we get to like, my daughter gets to, it's just fun. It feels very close knit, but yet it's a big city. Like it's Pittsburgh. So it's awesome here.
Yeah. I had no idea that it was anything like that. I just think it's a big old city.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
I don't know how anybody grows up here and then leaves. Like this place is amazing. I love Pittsburgh in general.
You're gonna get a lot of
we all live in our own little pocket community. Jodi and Erica live close together, but not in the same little community. But we're all within 20 minutes of each other. I live across, like almost directly across the river from Erin. And like she said, we all have like our own little communities within the greater city of Pittsburgh, which is what makes Pittsburgh so cool, because it is a small town feel when you're living in your little pocket, and everything that you need is right there. But then of course, to go into the city is beautiful and there's so much to do. Pittsburgh is just a great place. It's an awesome place.
Oh, crazy. That's so neat though. Your own Stars.
We're all transplants to this area.
Jealous.
None of us grew up here. So we love our city, our adopted city.
And I feel like it's very welcoming. So anybody that wants to come to the Pittsburgh area, like it's a very welcoming place.
It is.
I've lived in a few different places, and I feel like it would be hard for me to leave here.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I want to feel like that someday. Here, not so much, but hopefully someday. I'd love to have my own little Stars Hollow. I think that would be absolutely amazing. Really.
Swickley, PA, the Stars Hollow of Pittsburgh.
The Stars Hollow of Pittsburgh. Yeah.
That's a new coin term now. So, so if you could choose to do anything for a day, what would it be?
Wait, I looked this up earlier. I really do want to say what mine would be. You guys, do you remember Samantha Brown? Does anyone even know who she is? Okay, she used to have this TV show where she would go to hotels and like just get to eat at the fancy restaurant. She get to stay the night in the hotel. She get to do all the fun like excursions and everything. And she just had to talk about it. And I want to be Samantha Brown more than I want to be myself.
That sounds awesome.
I mean, right?
Well, with that, just like going and talking and showing things off. And oh
The
my
best part is like no one knows her. Like she's a celebrity in like her own way, but like she can still be like a human. But she's got this amazing job where she just has to go to a hotel and sleep. Like, are you kidding? That's the dream.
dream job.
I'm such a homebody. I was like, I literally wrote this down. Stitch, be with my husband and my fur kids, and go on a bike ride. That's what I would do. But I do that all the time.
I was
so
like, that's like a weekend for you.
Yeah,
that's like an
cool.
everyday event. So, but I'm
Dream big, Kristen. Be Samantha Brown.
Well, now that you said that, now I'm like, okay, maybe I want to change my answer. No, but that's like, if I could do anything in a day, it would just be, it's like the days when my husband doesn't have to work. We have absolutely no plans. It's a beautiful sunny day and we can like wake up and drink our coffee on the back deck and like casually move into our day, take our dogs for a walk, and then like go biking or go kayaking or just sit outside and just chat. My husband and I have some of the best Sunday and Saturday morning conversations that just go off on these like tangents for hours. And it's the best thing in the whole world. I'm a very easy person to please. So I don't need anything fancy. That's what I'd want to do. What would you do?
Honestly, like just a day at home with no responsibilities.
Yes.
Like I don't want to go to a sport. I don't
Yes.
want to go to a recital. I don't want to feed a dog. I don't want to feed a kid. Like I just want to sit on the couch and stitch.
Everyone can fend for themselves.
Everyone can fuck off.
Yes. Leave me alone.
Same day. Yep.
Yes. Erica, what would you do?
I don't know. Like, I really don't know. Probably what I do every day. Fine.
It's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. My name's Erica and I'm fine.
Jody's over here like, I would get rid of all of my kids.
Yeah.
Erica's
Bye.
like, I don't want to say that.
I'll just do the same thing. Hey, if you enjoy doing it, then that is kind of your
Yay, then I want everyone back.
Yeah. It's a lot.
One day. That's exactly the point.
And then come back.
Yeah, one day of whatever, and then you get everything back.
Because it would be like at nighttime, how all day I'm working towards bedtime, and then I spend at least 20 to 30 minutes looking at my phone and the pictures of my kids from the day and going, oh, look how cute.
I do that too.
Take the break, but I can't. I want to look at how cute my kids are.
That is the life of a parent for sure. So. All right. So, do any of you have any other hobbies besides cross stitch?
I run. I like to do half marathons. I haven't been able to in the last year and a half, 2 years because of pregnancy and then COVID, but I've done about 20 halves and I've done a full, and I would really like to get back into doing those again.
That's impressive. Wow.
Thank you. You know, my dad was a very unhealthy person, and I always vowed to be the opposite. So that's why I started running, and I love running. It's been 10 years.
I should probably start doing that.
Start small. Do like a 5K. It's so fun to get out there and meet people.
Yeah.
And you know what's cool as an adult? To get a ribbon. Someone hands me an award when I finish that race, and it feels good.
You don't get awards for a lot anymore. Mine's kind of in the same vein. My husband and I are really into biking. We got into it a couple years ago, and started doing it to raise money for the Great Cycle Challenge, which raises money for kids' cancer. So that was really like a big push for us. And I've had a lot of health issues, and for almost a decade, haven't been able to do a lot of things physically that I've wanted to do. So biking was kind of my push to get back into doing physical activity. And now we love doing that, going to the gym, biking, kayaking. I love to read. I've been stitching more and haven't been reading as much, but reading definitely. And I like to cook. So my husband is the world's best sous chef. So if you can get a sous chef to help you with prepping and cleaning up, cooking is a breeze. Cooking is really enjoyable when you don't have to do all of the other stuff. So, and he likes doing it. He's a weirdo. He loves to clean dishes. He likes to organize food prep, like putting food into containers. It helps his like organizational like drive. He absolutely loves it. So cooking's a breeze when you have somebody like that. Yeah.
My husband loves to cook. He does all the cooking actually, which is kind of nice. I don't have to do any of the cooking.
Yes. Amazing.
I'm not even a sous chef.
You're on your own.
Yeah,
Like, I'll taste test anything.
Yep.
I'll eat anything that he cooks. But Erica, what about you?
Oh.
Her favorite hobby is to sleep.
I'm getting more of that these days, so that's been excellent. But I sew and read when I can. Lately, I feel like I've been having a hard time finding something to read that is engaging enough to keep reading. So that's been my struggle with that. Hiking, we don't do it too much at the moment, but I want to get back into that and see how it goes with an older child. I started when my oldest was 8 weeks old, started hiking with him and met some, of our really good friends that way, and, have known them since he was so small, and we've been out in the woods and hiking around. And so I love to do that. I just don't do it as often as I want to. So
Jodi,
we enjoy hiking with the dogs and stuff on the weekends, but honestly, dyeing fabric takes up a lot of my time. That's become kind of a secondary to cross stitch. If I'm not stitching, my hands are in dye. In fact, I had a work meeting today and I had to paint my nails real quick because I couldn't leave the house looking like a mechanic. But I take my career very, very, very seriously, and that takes up a very large portion of my life, to be honest. It's important to me. I like what I do. And I've always kind of been career minded. So that takes up, a giant chunk of my day. And between that and kids, and dogs and just everything going on, there's really not a lot of time left over. So when I do have time, I'm either running needle or dyeing fabric.
Yep, and we are thankful for that.
Dyeing wizard.
That is a hobby we can all get behind.
Yeah, your fabric dyeing has blown up. That is awesome. We see it in a lot of videos. You have it in the shop.
It's crazy to me. Like, I'll get a message from someone that would be like, I was watching a Flosstube and someone was talking about your fabric, and I'm like, what? That doesn't make sense to me. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Very thankful and grateful for all of that.
So we're gonna move on to the next one. This is kind of a fun one, and I don't know how you guys want to handle it. But this is, how would your friends describe you? So if you guys want to kind of describe each other, or if you asked other friends, it's kind of your call. I love this question.
Well, I wrote down some things about everybody, so
Me
I guess
too.
I'll start.
Oh no, you wrote down? I should have wrote something down.
Rude. Erin is rude.
Oh
On our list.
Check.
no. All right, mark it. Everybody mark it.
Hold on, where's my eraser?
Erase that.
Hold on. No, I was gonna say Erin is incredibly kind. She is super funny and so fun to hang out with. Her and I have always had a blast anytime we've hung out together. And Erin and I always talk about this, and I appreciate this about her so much, but Erin is very honest. And she's one of those friends that I can be honest with as well. And it makes for a really good relationship that we kind of always just know where we stand with one another. And you don't have that a lot with people. It's superficial, or you just, you feel like you're walking on eggshells. And I never have felt like that with Erin. So that's something I very much appreciate about her. Erica, I love her creativity. Erica is my sewing mentor. She is who I aspire to be when it comes to sewing. I am a very amateur sewer, and Erica's stuff has always just been so beautiful. And the care and dedication that she takes when she sews and she creates something is, it's not rushed. It's never rushed. It's always this beautiful, thought out, very well done thing. So when she says, I'm going to make a project bag, it's not just a project bag. It's the most beautiful project bag with the most beautiful stitching. And it blows my mind. So she is my sewing mentor, but her creativity and her dedication to everything. Erica is one of those people where when she dedicates herself to something, there's never it's hard to get her away from that dedication. She's so committed to people and to what she believes in that, she's not wishy-washy. She's very, where Erica stands on everything. And she's just very committed to people and the things that she believes in. And sorry, I'm going to get emotional. And then Jodi, she's been my ride or die. Jodi and I
wrote down the same thing.
Sorry, I'm stealing that. Jodi and I have been through some really bad things together, some life-altering things, but we've also come out on the other side of those things. I had cancer. She was there. She went through a nasty divorce and a separation, and I was there. And we've just always, I don't know, we've just always been there. She's a sister. She's, and with the other girls too, we've been through really, really terrible things. There's no denying that, but we've also been through really amazing things. So, and Jodi is she's extremely generous. Jodi would give the shirt off her back to anyone. And she is constantly giving and not expecting anything in return. And sometimes I think Jodi is so generous that people can take advantage of her or maybe not show the gratitude to her that she deserves. And then that makes me like a mama bear that I want to fight everybody because I'm like, do you need me to step in? Do you need me to say something? Do you need me to collect that unpaid invoice? I'll do it. I'm like, don't you disrespect her like that. And Jodi is just extremely loving. She's a good friend. She's a good mother. She's a good wife. And she's up for anything. I always say Jodi, let's go do this. We go and do it. Hey, do you want to come over and drink on my back porch?
Yes.
Let's do it. If she's available and she has a minute of her day free, she will do and give to anybody. So that is what I think of you guys.
Wow.
Oh, those were really, really good.
Can't follow that.
I don't even know how to add to that.
I'll follow it. I'll go because I have notes. And I wrote down a lot of the same things, which is funny because I feel like we all sort of have the same relationship with each other, but at the same time, our relationship individually is all very different. Mm-hmm. So, but it's funny, I wrote down a lot of the same things. So Erin, I wrote down, tell it how it is. Like, if you need the truth, go to Erin. Like, if I go to Erin and I'm like, hey, does this look okay? Or what color should I stitch on here? She'll be like, that looks like shit. You need to take it out. And like, I would pick white for that. Like, and I can always count on her for that. And I think that that's so important because otherwise a friendship becomes superficial. And that is the last thing that I think of when I think of Erin. And just the generosity and the thoughtfulness. Like, Erin will show up at my door and drop off stitching supplies that, you know, I needed or that I said I needed. And then she'll throw in like other stuff just to brighten my day. Like just the thoughtfulness behind everything that she does is amazing. And I love you.
I love you. That was really meaningful. Thank you.
Erica is like the silent genius. So just like what Kristen said, like Erica will kind of go into hibernation and be like, oh, I am making something. And then she'll come out of hibernation with this like half of her freaking Christmas wreath stitched, or like a project bag or a notions bag that's like professionally made. And just the creativity that radiates from her is so inspiring. You know, I think we all like to think that we're creative. We do a creative craft. But like when I look at Erica's creations and the way that she does things just so humbly, like she's so humble and like a fly under the radar bombshell. Like that's, and it's so cool to watch because, you know, I think that Erica comes off as like this quiet, like meek soul. And she is in a way, but she's like a duck, like underwater. She's moving at the speed of light and creating things that I could never even dream of. So, and I love you. And honestly, like cherish every friendship. I'm freaking Kristen wrote all of the same things down as me. This girl is my partner in crime. Anytime I need something or I need to get something done or I need to go somewhere, she's down. Yep, I'll be there. Same thing. Like if Kristen has a minute in her day, she's stopping by or she's bringing something over or I'm stopping by her place and we're making something happen. Like, you know, I think at this age in our lives, we realize what friendships really mean. And it's such a two-way street. And I've never, ever once doubted the reciprocation in friendship that I get from Kristen. Like there's never a lost moment in our friendship that I feel like, you know, I'm doing more or she's doing more, or we're just like, I'm gonna start chattering because I want to cry. There's like she said, she's a sister. There's nothing I can't tell her. There's nothing I can't talk to her about. The trust that I have in her and the love that I have for her is, like it's indescribable. I've never had a friend like this. I've never had a friend this long. And the coolest part about it is that we share this hobby together that takes up so much of our lives. And to be able to do that together is very, very fortunate. I feel very lucky.
This is why I pushed you so hard to start cross stitching.
I know, and I tried to make you a damn sugar skull and it didn't fucking work out.
I want that sugar skull. I want it even if it's not complete.
It's coming your way.
It'll go on the wall.
Here, I'll do something a little different since you guys have, there's literally no following that. And first of all, can I also say just thank you. One of the most important things to me is that people find me authentic, and for you two to both touch on that, I can't express how much I will think about this every day for the rest of my life. That means so much. That's like the highest compliment you could have given me. So thank you. That's so sweet. I'll say what I think doesn't come across in our videos. I think what doesn't come across in our videos about Jodi is how much of a badass she is too. Like, I just think of her as this like force of nature. Like if she wants to accomplish something, she just does it. Like she just started this fabric business, you guys. Like, it was crazy. Like, she didn't even dye fabric, and all of a sudden she's like one of the best out there. It's insane. She's a badass, and I know how quiet she is on the videos, but she's not that person. Like, I want people to know that, like, Jodi expresses herself very well, and it's appreciated, and she's sweet and kind and giving and generous, and I just don't think that comes across as much as I would like for people to know that about her, because she's amazing. And then Erica, I mean, same thing. Like, I think she comes across as really quiet in the videos, mostly because I have a very loud mouth, and Kristen and we talk, but I think they come across as quiet. But Erica is like doing a million things. Like, she has this family that she's doing a million different things for. She's helping out her friends, and she's busy, and yet she finds time to come back here and be a part of this. And it's amazing what she accomplishes and what she brings to the table. Like, we wouldn't be who we are without every piece here. Mm-hmm. And I mean, Kristen is, as much as she talks and is, the leader and loud, she's also soft and sweet, and she's so kind and giving, and she would do anything for her friends and her family. Like, she's just there for people. You just know she has your back. And I love that about her. And I love that these ladies are a part of my world. I'm just so lucky.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Okay. Well, so I have decided that I will say a couple of words that I think of when I see each of you, because you have said a lot of the things that I would have already said. So I'll say, how about 2 words for each of you? All right. I wrote them down. Okay. So Erin, the words that I think of for you are genuine and thoughtful.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Jodi, I think of creative and generous, which again is this the same things you've all been saying. Like, let's be real here. and Kristen, last but not least, dedicated and loyal. Those are the words.
Those are good.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I love you guys.
I love you guys too. I want to give everybody a hug.
I love this question. I love how you guys just did that all on your own. I didn't say a word the whole time. Amazing. And like I said, your friendship comes through in the videos, but this question got you guys thinking about each other and like how much you love each other. And it was amazing. Even I was teary-eyed. I wasn't even in it. So wow, you guys have an amazing friendship. That was the best. That was the
Listen, we need to do that exercise, once a month at least, because I don't ever want anyone in this group to feel, and sometimes life gets busy, and sometimes you just forget to tell people, how much they mean to you. And we shouldn't have to wait for a video to do that. But I'm glad that we did it because, it's good to hear what people how people look at you from the outside, because obviously the image that you have of yourself is, one thing, but then of course what you're projecting to the world is a different thing. And it's nice to have nice things said about you. So I love you guys. Thank you.
And we're not like we have fights, we have disagreements amongst ourselves. We don't show that in a video, clearly. It wouldn't make a good video, but we definitely have to hash things out. It has happened a few times. And the best part about us is that I feel like we can do that. We can have those hard conversations and still come back to moments like this where we can express how much we deeply, deeply care for each other.
Yeah, listen, the older that you get, the less you want a friendship where you can't be honest with each other. You can't really express how you feel. You feel like you can't be yourself. There's never been a time where I have not been, and I think for all of us, we have been as authentic and as genuine with each other as you can be. These girls know me as well as anybody, and it has to be like that. And, honestly, for going on 3 years of doing Flosstube, it's like any it's like any boy band or whatever out there. Eventually something puts, a little wedge between them and they fall apart. And we have been going strong and stronger for 3 years, so this, I feel like we've gotten through some really hard stuff. We've had hard conversations and we've had hard discussions about this channel and where we've wanted to go and the direction. And we've come out stronger on the other side. So I don't really think there's anything that can separate us now. So we're in it for life.
Knock on wood, Kristen.
The friendship is in for life. And hopefully the Flosstube is around for a long time.
Yeah. Wow. I don't even know how we're going to top that, but we're going to move on to the next question. So we're going to get back into stitching a little bit. And this is, how do you prefer to stitch? Like a hoop, Q-snap, that kind of stuff.
The tightest Q-snap I can find. I want my fabric to be like a drum.
Sometimes I like to stitch in hand. It depends on. I know. I switch it up sometimes. I'm like, okay, if it's like a simple pattern, sometimes I'll do the sewing method and I'll stitch in hand. Other times, same thing. If I have a Q-snap or if I have one of those tension hoops, I want it to be tight.
So tight.
Tight. I like putting it on my Lowry stand. I have a floor stand that I absolutely love to use. I have my Ott light, the floor stand Ott light. And I can stitch for hours.
Sometimes I'll see Kristen stitching in hand. I'm like, put that shit in a snap before I throw it in the
Sometimes
trash.
I
like,
just
it's
gotta,
making me crazy.
Just depends.
I can't do that. I'm a Q-snap. I like a tight Q-snap, and I have my little light. I have like a section on the couch. We always say that nobody has a seat in this house. Like if you want to sit somewhere, if you're there first, you get it. But that's not true because I have a seat.
But not my seat.
That's where my light is. And I sit there. And I could sit there all day. I wish. God. The day that happens.
You can do anything for a day.
Right.
What about you, Erica?
Yeah, she's a hoop for life.
Oops.
Hoops.
Hoop. There it is. She's got another one.
Exactly. It's just sitting here. I did try Q-snap a couple of times and just didn't jive with me. I just didn't like it. So hoops forever.
Hoops forever. Mm-hmm.
Because they're easier to hold. Is that why? Is that like, or how come you didn't like the Q-snap?
I don't know. I don't really know why I didn't care for it. I think it just felt very like bulky, I guess. Whereas like a hoop is significantly thinner, right? Mm-hmm. So I just
that makes sense.
And I think I hated taking it apart and like moving it around if I needed to move it, where this is pretty easy. So
yeah, that makes sense.
I'm a big fan of the tension hoops now. They're easy to move.
Yeah.
You just squeeze those little things together but you can't put them in a stand. They don't do well in a stand. So you really do have to hold them in your hand, but they're good for like traveling. I think, I do like the tension hoops, but trying to get it tight, like how Erica does, I don't know how she does it. I can't get my fingers to turn that little knob tight enough to really make the fabric nice and tight. So, yeah.
So since we're talking about fabric, I kind of know you stitch on whatever, because now you have Jodi supplying the fabric. So whatever you get, you stitch on. But do you have like a preferred fabric that you lean towards to stitch on?
I actually wrote down anything by Jodi.
Truth.
But my favorite fabrics would be a 32 count even weave. And now I used to be a 40 count linen girl, and I really do like 40 count linen, but I really like 40 count Verdal. You give me that 40 count even weave, baby,
like
all day long. But definitely higher count linens I like. And Jodi actually just procured me an entire yard of 46 count. I don't know what I'm going to do on it yet, but
all the stuff. You're going to do all the stuff.
Everything. Every pattern I own, I can stitch on that 1 yard of 46 count. Yeah.
I used to be in the Ada Army, and I swore to Colleen, I was like, I promise I'm not leaving you. And I've left. In fact, I've got whips that are on Ada that I can't bring myself to pick up because it's just not as enjoyable to me. And like right now I'm stitching one pattern on linen and one pattern on Lugana. And going from the linen to the Lugana is like, it's night and day. There's something about a 32 even weave Lugana that is heaven. It can't be beat.
Eric is still in the Ada Army.
She's still Ada for sure. I've switched. I've gone over.
I did try the 28 count Lugana that Jodi dyed, and I have a couple of other colors. So I will try it again. It wasn't bad, but I like the mindlessness that comes with 14 count Ada because I don't have to actually like search for the little holes. I don't have to consult the video that you made about stitching on the number of times that I watched that, you would not believe.
Because all of our views on that video, she was literally every view.
Repeat.
Yep. Rewind.
Yeah, I'm still an Ada gangster. 18 count Ada. That's what I stitch on. I don't think I will ever switch. I
think you would enjoy a 32 count if you tried it. I've switched. You know what? I used to swear I would never, and then I started stitching Lugana, and I loved it. But I do 28 count, and 28 count linen I just find very enjoyable.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
People need to remember stitch what makes you happy, right? Like you're only going to stitch if it's on fabric you really like. And I feel like there is definitely an element out there in the community where, you know, it's some people frown upon stitching on linen. They frown upon stitching on lower count 8 or, you know, linen. So it just, who cares? Stitch if it's stitching and you're creating something and you're doing something, who cares?
I ditched entire patterns because I didn't like the fabric.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it. But there's so many things to try. And like Jodi's done, you know, I had a bunch of Ada stuff. My Dracula piece, I'm thinking in particular, my Witchy Stitcher Dracula piece, that was on one of our initial blood spatter fabrics that Jodi had done. And I started that Dracula piece. And I picked it up and I didn't have a lot done on it, but I'm like, you know what? It's just looking really good on this fabric. I'm not an Ada stitcher anymore, but I'm going to keep going. It is by far one of my favorite pieces. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite pieces. So it doesn't matter. Do whatever you want.
When I do like a caterpillar piece, I always get 14 count Ada for that because they're popcorny. And I don't want to mess up the counting. I mean, I can count over with the linen now. It's not a big deal, but I prefer to do an Ada so that I don't have to like frog as much.
Yeah.
It just depends on the piece, you know?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we're kind of getting out of stitching a tiny bit, but do you have a favorite place that you've traveled and did you bring stitching along when you went?
Favorite place for me that we traveled was Jamaica, just because it was beautiful. But I wasn't stitching then, and I wish I would have been because there was a lot of time that we just sat on the beach and I read or played on my phone, and I could have been stitching. I could have taken a tropical piece with me, and it would have just been amazing.
How glorious would that have been?
Oh, sitting there with a drink that was brought to me. Okay, don't have to get up. Stitching on the beach. It would have been magical. So, but I'm looking forward to taking a trip like that again and having my stitching with me for sure. Because a couple of times that we've traveled and being on an airplane, it was nice to have stitching. I didn't think it would be, I thought I would be kind of cramped and it would be a lot of stuff, but I just took a small piece with me and I had my scissors and like, I just had like my little bag with my thread in it. And like, I even put my little tails in like a little Ziploc so I didn't like have a mess everywhere. And it was really enjoyable. And it's nice to pass the time like that. I listen to a podcast and I just stitch and it's a great way to fly.
For sure. There's a lot of time for sure. And anybody else have a favorite place at all?
I went to Bora Bora for our honeymoon and it was incredible. I mean, I don't think you can beat that vacation spot. We did like the overwater bungalow, but I didn't stitch then. And I look back and I'm like, I mean, we were pretty active. We actually, we climbed, there's a mountain there. So we climbed the mountain, which I'd never done. And they should not allow you to just do that. Like you had to like hook into like a harness thing and wear a helmet, and Jonathan almost died. Like this rock almost fell on his head. They shouldn't just let you do these things. It's Bora Bora, baby. They're like, whatever.
Lifetime.
Hey, 2002 Mexico, they let you climb the pyramid at Chichen Itza. You can't do that anymore, but we did it as a family. And my dad like forced us all to climb the pyramid. And the Mayan pyramid, you know, and there's no safety railing, you know, no nothing. You get to the top, you're standing on this pyramid. There's no railing, there's no security. No one's even up there. Somebody could have just pushed you off. I mean,
right?
Oh, geez.
I'm thinking like this is probably not something that we should be doing. Unfortunately, you can't do it anymore because I think people were falling and getting injured.
Well, thank God for that.
Like, thanks, Dad. Thanks, Mom and Dad, for
putting my life in danger.
Forcing us to climb this pyramid in 112-degree heat. Love it.
You know, I do have one more. We went to Banff a couple years ago, and I feel like Banff, people are sleeping on Banff. It's gorgeous there. I mean, Canada's beautiful in general, but man, if you can get to Banff, go to Banff. It's gorgeous.
No, you were stitching then, weren't you?
I was a little. I look back on that, and I was just starting. You know what piece I did there? I started that that America one that I bought from
the Illustrated US. Yes.
That Pakistans piece that I stitched the wrong way and then barely fit.
But it was.
You know what's so?
It was like
what's so funny is that my mother-in-law sends me a picture of it anytime she's in her camper too, and I'm like, thank God it worked.
I remember that though.
I remember you stitching.
You had like this much room left on the one side. We didn't think you were going to squeeze Maine on there, but you finally got it.
I was pissed, man. That was a hard piece too.
Those are the best memories, though. Those are the best memories. That's awesome.
Erica, did you have any place?
I have two places, neither of which I think. Okay, the first one is in college. I was a mentor for first-year students, like for my sophomore, junior, and senior years, and they had like a class that was like randomly assigned, and each class would end the semester doing something interesting. The class that I was mentoring my junior year, they did a sleep study on jet lag. So we went to Austria to get jet lagged, and we stayed there for like 10 days, and we went to the Czech Republic, we went to Hungary, and we were in Vienna, and we went to Salzburg, and the school paid me to do that. Like I didn't have to pay at all. I just like went there. It was awesome. It was so great. And I was in college, so I wasn't stitching at the time, but it was a very memorable trip. And, you know, like I was sort of trying to be responsible for these, like, you know, 15 freshman people in Europe. Good.
Not good.
Super fun. But it was a really memorable trip. I really enjoyed that. And then the other one is our honeymoon. We went on a road trip through Pennsylvania and went out, like not all the way east, like not all the way to Philly, but we went to a bunch of different places. We stopped at a lot of record stores, ate at a lot of like small dinery places. We went to the Yingling Brewery, that kind of thing. It was just really like low key and super fun. We didn't have any children. We didn't have like, we just could like tool around and go wherever. And it was a really nice memory of doing that kind of thing. And we keep saying like, oh, we should do that again sometime, because it was really a good time. Really fun.
Everything about that sounds glorious in this COVID world. Like just going to a diner sounds like, man, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's my kind of trip right there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What about you, Jodi?
You know, I did a lot of traveling when I was growing up. I had family in London, and my parents are from South Africa, so I've been there on a safari. But going to London and just seeing that culture and being with my cousins, I just have very, very, very fond memories of doing that trip with my family. But I think in more recent years, we just took a small weekend trip. It was the last place we went. We went to Bedford, and I took my stitching, and we had a balcony room, and the dogs would sit out on the balcony all day, and I would sit out there and stitch, and we would have cocktails at an ungodly early hour of the day. And just, you know, in our busy lives now, to be able to just kind of unplug from all of that and go somewhere, it really doesn't matter where you are.
No.
I was with Michael, and that's all that mattered at that time, and we were just, you know, in our own space together, and we could have been on the moon. It wouldn't have mattered. It was just nice to get away. So
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. That's what we do. Since my kids are older, so my husband and I have been just kind of going away, you know, a night down at the beach or whatever. And that's like the best trip. I don't need anything super crazy. You know, I'll bring my stitching, you relax by the beach. It's awesome. So I love stuff like that.
Yep.
Nice little getaways. So what can you not do without for your stitching? Like your favorite go-to must-have besides the basics, the needle, the thread, and the floss.
I just pulled mine out, and Erica happened to make this for us. But lately I have found that I need to have this when I'm stitching. I have to go and find it and put it down to catch my little orts. Like, this thing is such a great addition to my stitching. So Erica, thank you, because I love it.
Yay, I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you.
Mine is definitely a pair of good sharp scissors, and the ones that we got in the first Black Needle Society subscription box. They are the sharpest scissors that I've ever owned. They are the perfect weight. They're like a heavy duty scissor, but they are so sharp. I've dropped them off of my, like the arm of my chair, and they have fallen into the floor, point down, and stuck. So when I talk about, I mean, and I do the pin stitch. So I have a tail on the front of my piece, and I need to get really close to that fabric in order to snip that tail off. And they are the best scissors for that. But Jodi and I kind of have the same favorite stitching.
my box.
It's our box that my husband made for us.
Jason made us boxes last Christmas, and it's, you know, it's one of those things that could very easily turn into like a junk box. Like, you just throw everything in there and you don't keep it organized, and then you don't end up using it. Mine's never become that. Like, it's always got scissors, my like frogging tool. I don't need pens anymore because I use my iPad. So I took those out, which made it kind of nice to like have the open space. But like, I always have 310 and white in there, always a skein of
Art.
Really good
and
idea.
then when I kit up a project, I never have to add those two colors because I always have those in my box.
Yes. Yep.
But like everything I like, if I don't ever have to think about it. Like, if I'm in a stitch, I grab my box. That's all I need is just my box. And I love it. I love it so much.
And we've all decorated our boxes with stickers, and we've purchased stickers for each other. And like, we've collected stickers places that we've gone. And like, I have like my battlefield stickers on there from trips that we took last year. Our whitewater kayaking trip that we did down on the Youghiogheny. So like, Jodi and I went into the gift shop and we bought stickers to kind of commemorate it. But like, every time I go somewhere, I'm like, I need a sticker so that I can stick it on the box, or I can stick it on my stitchy journal or whatever. So the box has definitely been, and it was fun to design it with him because as someone who's not a stitcher, he's like, well, how do you want this? And I'm like, well, I want like a magnet strip in the back for needles. And I want little pockets on the side so that you can put your pens or your highlighter or your frogging tool. They can like sit up if you have your box open, and 2 little compartments. And it was really fun to like work with him to design it. And my husband he's really good at doing stuff like that. And he likes doing it. And he knew how much it would mean to the 4 of us to make these boxes. So it's something that I will treasure forever because he took a lot of time to put those together for us. So I love it. I'm glad that you.
I can't stitch without it.
Yeah.
I need my box.
I need my box.
I think the thing that maybe the first like extra tool that I ever used was a needle minder. Like the idea of a needle minder like exploded my brain. And so now I have to have a needle minder. Every project has to have a needle minder. Ideally, they could be thematically matched. That would be cool.
I feel like a lot of yours are.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of yours are. You do a really good job of like pairing your needle minders up. Yeah.
Well, it helps that the frosted pumpkin makes one for like every piece.
Yes. Yes. I love the wooden needle minders that they come out with, and they're fantastic. So I mean, I love all needle minders, but needle minders all day. That's me.
When you first introduced me to a needle minder, because you were the one to do that, like that blew my mind. I'm like, you don't have to like stick your needle into the fabric and then risk losing it. Like there's a tool for that. And now I have like an extensive collection of needle minders. They're one of my favorite things to collect stitchy wise. For sure.
It's like project bags. Like I never even thought of the project bag before. And now how did I not have just a project bag for every single project?
Kristen and I used to buy extra large jumbo Ziploc bags when we worked at the shop.
Yes.
And we would like run to Target and buy giant Ziploc bags to like keep all of our shit in it.
I'm looking at a project on the floor right now.
That's it.
That's in a giant Ziploc bag. Yeah.
That's how the stitching with the housewives. That's what they did for the longest time. Ziploc bags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of like can remember the progression of like us as a group in terms of like how we were storing things. So we had like the Ziploc bags, and then we were doing like those 3 dip pouches. Like I did a ton of those. And then we had like those plastic meshy kind of things, which I still use a lot of in like storage purposes. And then we get the vinyl front project bags, and then the other like pocket project bags, and like
now we have luggage.
Now Jodi and I have like rolly bags. So
right.
Wait for StitchCon, man.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait to see your video after that. That's gonna be awesome. So how do you decide on what you're gonna work on next as far as projects go?
I feel like we're doing so many stitch alongs currently. So that's been determining a lot of my stitching at least. And then I've been asked to model stitch a couple of pieces, which I never say no to because it's like crazy to me that anybody wants me to do their model stitching. And then we keep joining in on these, like it's mania, or I mean, March Madness really helped.
Yeah.
So, then you're joining in on all the fun stuff. So I feel like I never really have to choose because it's chosen for me.
Yeah, I feel like especially in the past like 6 months, I feel like there's been very little that I've picked up and just stitched that hasn't been for a SAL or a monthly whatever, or December, like the Black Needle Society had like their 12 days of stitching. And of course, March Madness is big for us, obviously. So that was a big push. But I feel like if I'm not doing a SAL, I really just let the universe kind of pick for me. I've been doing like a lot of smalls lately, which has been nice because I've been able to like finish a lot of things. And I haven't been doing a lot of my whips. I do need to get back to those, but it's fun to start new stuff. So I've been starting a lot, but finishing a lot. So what are you going to do?
FFOing is something that I very, very much enjoy.
She does all the
time. So
she's amazing at it.
A lot of times, what I'm going to stitch on will be determined by if I have found an FFO idea.
Yeah.
So like I'll have a bunch of whips, and then if I'm out and I find something that like, that I'm going to use for an FFO, I'm like, oh my God, I got to go work on that next. I got to finish it because now I have like an FFO idea for it. So a lot of times, like what I'm going to work on next is determined by, do I have something to fully finish it? Because like March Madness, I did, and I followed it. But like, I don't stick to anything. So a lot of times that goes by the wayside and I'm like totally sidetracked by an FFO idea. And then like everything just disappears and I'm like, okay, I got to finish this because I have the FFO for it. So
I've always been envious of Jodi's ability to stitch something and immediately FFO it. I've never been that type of person. I will never be that type of person. Like I have to be in the mood to FFO something. I have an entire box of finishes that I'll probably never get around to
FFO like 18 things in a weekend.
But see, that's
true.
Yeah, I have to be in the mood, and sometimes it's just like I'm like I got to finish stuff. But I've always been envious of Jodi's ability to like look at something and say, I know exactly how I want to finish this, and then she just executes. Like it's hard for me sometimes to pull the trigger on those things. So I do want to get better at FFOing things. I don't like having things that I've stitched and I don't have displayed. That does make me sad.
That's big bummer.
Yeah, it is a bummer.
You work hard on that stuff.
And
maybe Jodi could start a finishing business on top of the fabric business. Or finishing for you guys.
Listen, I will not finish anybody else's work. 99% of the stuff I finish is rigged. Like I hot glue gun pillows.
Yes. No, ladies, no more.
I do too. Oh, I feel so good.
You can't say that in front of Kristen, you guys.
That gives me like I look at these pillows and I'm like, Jodi, I could have just whip that right through the sewing machine.
Like so much of the stuff I do, I'm like, look how cute this is. Don't turn it over.
Don't pick it up.
Yeah.
It might fall apart.
Don't touch it.
It's all a facade.
Yeah, I hot glue on like the trims and stuff like that because I don't have to. I hand sew the small pillows. Like I can do that because it's Ada. I can't use the sewing machine, but I hot glue. I hot glue the back. I hot glue the trim.
Now, hot glue on trim, I will say I've done that a lot for like those little fobs because it seems kind of tedious to have to like hand sew all of those pom-poms and stuff on. And you're not handling them that much. It's not being, it's not on something that you're really it's not like a big piece that it's gonna fall off. They're tiny. I don't have a problem with but like hot gluing the actual pillow together. Ooh. She's so impatient.
The first time I did it, I thought Erica was going to have a heart attack.
Like my casual hot glue is not gluing the actual pillow together.
I've gone back and looked at Erica's face the first time I said that I hot glue. I think it was my my paper crane Keith Morrison pillow.
Oh my God.
And I like brought it on camera and I said that I hot glued it, and the look of horror on Erica's face was so good. It was so good. She was like, you what?
Because, okay, so I want to add another word about Jodi, impatient.
Yeah.
Jodi has the patience of a flea.
I need it now.
And like, I've always offered, and I've offered for everybody, like, of course not for Erica because she can sew better than I can. But like, if you want me to turn something into a pillow, let me know. Like, I have no problem doing that. I do it for my friends. Yada, yada, yada.
And I always say it too. I'm like, hey, will you make a pillow for me? And she's like, yeah. And then I finish it and I'm like, no, I'm just going to glue it.
Like, it would literally take me 10 minutes. She can't wait 10 minutes. She can't wait 10 minutes. So Jodi has a whole arsenal of glued together pillows. Don't use them for actual, like, putting your head on them.
No, they're like crunchy.
Oh, I love a good crunchy pillow.
God knows what it's stuffed with. We have no idea.
Don't even ask it. Oh, God. Old t-shirt.
Oh, my God. Okay. So, I I totally lost my train of thought now. I don't know if Erica, if you answered how you decided what you're going to work on next.
I think it's a lot of like, am I trying to keep up with something or not?
Yeah.
Like last week, I was not trying to keep up with anything and I just stitched whatever I felt like stitching, which felt really good. So I'm excited to do that, like continue doing that more often instead of feeling like I'm like being chained to one project, because Like I don't need to be really, but I made a little plan for like for May stuff, for like mania things, thinking, oh, I'm gonna do this. Here's I'm gonna spend this time on these things. I'm sure I'm gonna mess that up on like change it around. But right now I'm like, yeah, I could totally do that. I have a plan. Sure.
You can change your mind. That's your prerogative.
Yeah.
So we are down to the last question, and this is my favorite question. Besides you guys describing each other, that was actually pretty awesome. But it's what's the best thing that has happened to you within the past couple of years?
I mean, I feel like I'm gonna cheat and say the one, like, meeting these ladies. I mean, honestly, I don't have like a ton of friends. We've moved. We lived in Florida, and then I'm from Michigan. Like, I mean, I have friends other places, but I don't have a lot of friends here. And to meet these ladies and feel like I have a home in this new place has been, I mean, everything. It's been everything. It's so nice to just feel that and to know that I have that. And I probably would get in trouble if my kids later on watched this and I didn't say them, because they are very important to me. And if you know me, I talk about them all the time. But they're high up there, and my husband and all that. But like, next up is these ladies. Just this friendship in this group is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think aside from the obvious, like, being with my husband and adopting our 2 dogs after we lost our 2 last year. I mean, we moved closer to Pittsburgh, which has been fantastic because we were living about 45 minutes south of Pittsburgh.
Did you see how we all went?
Yeah, it's real nice. Yeah, it's real nice for me too. To go to someone's house and it not be another hour before I get home. So, moving closer to Pittsburgh obviously has been such an amazing thing. But probably the best thing that's happened recently, it's both my best and worst thing, is going back to school. So changing careers completely. I, was in finance for a long time. And then obviously Jodi and I owned our own shop and we were small business owners. And then I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and then decided I was going to go back to school and become a respiratory therapist. And so it's been the best thing because it's the only career that I've ever felt like it's my calling and it's what I've been meant to do. It's the worst thing because I hate going to school, and
You're almost done.
I'm almost done, but it will be amazing when I'm finally done with it. It's just being in the thick of it right now. It just feels like, there's no end in sight and it's never going to get easier, but it will. It always will. But just having my husband's support and my friends and my family, like, they know what I'm going through. They know how hard it is. And having my group of girls, my husband, like, these are my people, and like to have them to like help, keep me back from the brink and to be my sanity and my safety net and my, like my escape from the rigors and stress of school has just been the best thing in the whole world. So cross stitch has been my escape from, in a good way, from things. When times get stressful, I put my books away and I just sit and stitch for even a half an hour and I instantly feel better. So that's been my best new thing. Jodi?
Yeah, I mean, the last couple of years, obviously I have small kids. So, my kids are my life. They're my everything. And being able to blend my family with Michael's family has been such a blessing, coming out of a very dark place. And just being able to create this family that we have, I feel like the luckiest person in the whole world. I look at him and I look at the kids every day and I'm like, what did I do to deserve this? Like, this family is incredible. And I just feel so lucky. And so that's kind of on the personal side. On the stitchy side, this like whole fabric adventure that I'm going on, which is brand new, came totally out of the blue. Like, I love playing with colors and mixing colors and just like fucking around in my kitchen with dye. I love it. And for that to become something that I'm able to share with everybody and just like see everybody's joy in being able to use something that I've made. Like that's so incredibly crazy to me. But I love it. Like I love bundling up a bunch of fabric and like taking it to the girls, and then I get to see them using it. Now it's like all over Instagram, and just seeing it out there into this community and like getting to places that I never thought that it would. It's been really, really fun. And I just feel so lucky that it's gotten to where it has. And, you know, like, I feel like I'm at a place where I could make it bigger if I wanted to. And I'm just like, I'm in control of that, which is another blessing. Like, holy crap. Like, how did I get here? It's crazy. I'm so lucky.
Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
Erica?
This is a very hard question. Let's see. We've lived in our current community for 4 years now. And I think that in like the recent history of Erica's life was a really big deal, because moving to this neighborhood has brought me all of you, has brought me like this neighborhood that we truly love, has been a place where my family can flourish and grow. And then I've, you know, in addition to that, I've been able to have this network of support from these people that you see. You know, and I think it just feels like this is a really great time in my life. And like being, like, I really appreciate my current life, right? Like I like being the age that I am. I like the friends that I have. I like the stuff that I do. I don't feel like I have to like hide who I am from people. And I know, you know, like when you're in your 20s or when you're in high school, like that's so different from how I feel now. And I just really think I'm in a good place, and I love you guys, and let's stitch.
Yeah, I think this is a good being in our 30s and where we are and doing this craft. And like people will come up to me or that I haven't talked to in a long time or that I went to high school with that like send me things about cross stitch. I'm like, I haven't talked to this person in literally 15 years.
Isn't that funny?
Right.
Like they'll see something on Instagram and have enough foresight to think like, I know Kristen's cross stitches, and like she really like, and it may not be cross stitch, it may be embroidery.
It's usually not. It's almost always embroidery.
I know, but you know what? That to me just means like you took time out of your day to see something, think of me, send it to me, and then say like, I thought you would appreciate this. So like, but if I would have done that back in high school, like I would have been the nerd, I would have been the geek, I would have been the dork, like, and I would have hid that. And I did hide a lot of that, like Erica said about myself, that now that we're this age and we have these people that I don't care if anybody else likes me. Like, I hope you like me, but like, I'm not seeking that. I'm not seeking approval basically. But to have people who I never thought would say like, hey, it's really cool that you do this thing and that you've made this your thing. Appreciate this thing. Like, you know, that to me is just like, that blows my mind. That blows my mind.
You know, and you keep saying high school too. One of the things that came out of this that I wasn't expecting is I've had this friend, Brooke, that I've known for forever. We've known each other since kindergarten, and our friendship, I feel like over the past few years, because of cross stitching, we've somehow gotten even closer, which is crazy to think because we've known each other forever. She was a bridesmaid at my wedding, but yet somehow this craft that we share, that we didn't share in high school, has brought us so close. And I'm so grateful for that because she's such an amazing human. And it's just like nice to have that you can reconnect with people.
Yeah. Absolutely. And cross stitch ladies and men, we are a crazy bunch. You get us in a room together. I mean, it's
going to be a good time, StitchCon.
No, just like that retreat Jodi and I just went to, I'm like, you know, we're up until like 2:00 in the morning. We're like,
oh my God, Kristen and I went to take naps and these ladies were like
raging
vodka sodas at 5:00 in the afternoon. Like, yeah. I was like, what is What's going
like
on?
Jodi and I were we were the youngest ones there, and we were the ones that had to go take a nap. I'm like, listen, if I'm gonna party with you guys until 2 a.m,
I'm getting a nap.
I gotta go take a nap for like half an hour. So
Oh my gosh, that is true, because we can stay up all night and stitch, 24 hours of cross stitch. People do it all the time. So
listen, challenge. It's not a challenge. It's very much enjoyed.
I can't wait to be able to experience that. Hopefully the retreat that I'm signed up for will happen this year, because that'll be my first in-person retreat. So I want to experience that. I want to be around, I have my stitching group, but I want to be around, just a bunch of other people that I don't know that, I'm going to get to know.
Yes.
And experience all that. So
it's the coolest part, because it's such an eclectic group of people. Like they said, it's 70-year-olds down to 20-year-olds. Like it's everybody in different walks of life. And it's so cool to get to hear about, I don't know, just find a way to talk to people of all walks of life. I love it.
It makes me a better cross stitcher, because there are women who have been stitching for 30, 40, 50 years. And their stitching is beautiful, and what they create is just it's awe-inspiring. Yes, it's an X on a fabric, but there is a big difference between a good stitcher and a real good stitcher. And so you see these women and they want to share their knowledge. They want to show you what they do. They want to encourage you. And then you sit down and you're like, I want to be a better stitcher. I want to absorb all of their knowledge. And it's just it's a very giving community, and being in a retreat like that with people, it does make you really appreciate this craft, and then it makes you better. It really does make you better. So that's cool.
Yep.
I hope you enjoy your retreat and that you get to go. Last year was tough on all of us.
Yeah. I hope this year's different for many, many people. So
yes.
And we like to host, we like to have just a day retreat by us. We were doing those things, and it just stinks to have had that taken away. So,
yeah.
Here's the hope.
Large retreat a week before the shutdown happened. So last year we had it was a big retreat. We had 40, 50 women that showed up to just a day retreat that we had in Erica's town. And it was a week before shutdown happened.
We squeezed it in.
We squeezed it. But hopefully that will happen. Hopefully by the end of this year we can do that again.
Yeah. I think hope is a good way to end this interview. Just hope that this year will get better, and that we can all get together and stitch and get back to, I guess, a new normal, we should say. Won't be back to the regular normal. But thank you guys so much for taking time out of your evening to do this interview. It was awesome. It was just chatting. Basically, it wasn't really an interview. It was just chatting and getting to know y'all a little bit better. So I really appreciate it. And thank you for kicking off the second year of the series. Hopefully I can keep it going.
Well, happy year two.
Happy year two. Thank you for having us and including us in this. And you are an honorary Steel City Stitcher for now and forever. So you are part of the crew.
Awesome.
Yeah. So thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Oh my gosh. I'll say bye to everybody on Flosstube.
Bye, Flosstube.